back in 2007, after I had my two kids, they told me that I was having massive headaches. And the headaches was to the point where I finished Excedrin, Motrin. The headache wasn't going nowhere. And so I went to a hospital. I can't name the hospital because they did a horrible job. When I got there, I said to them, I'm having chronic headaches. I'm not feeling well. I'm nauseated. They said, oh, well, you just need medication. And I telling them I finished Excedrin and Motrin. So clear as day, my pain meds wasn't going to do it. They didn't listen. They said, okay, I'm going to put you on some more pain meds. But that same night, for some reason, my husband said, I don't think you should go home. I think you need to go to another hospital for a second opinion because I don't feel comfortable taking you home in the state you were in. Went to the other hospital and they said, well, they put me under this machine and started putting a LP, it's called LP lumbar puncture, where they insert a needle in your spine. And when he inserted the needle, he said it felt like a waterfall. I had a bunch of water coming out of my spine. He pulled out 600 cc's of water out my spine. So they assumed that I had meningitis at first, or some kind of other disease. Turned this, asked me if I was pregnant at the time. I said, well, no, I'm not pregnant. In my mind, I'm not pregnant. Long story short, they still did a pregnancy test. They admitted me in their hospital. I spent about almost a month in there because I was getting the same pressure that was in my spine every couple of days. So every couple of days, I had to have a needle in my spine to pull out the pressure because they found out that I was pregnant. Now, I didn't know I was pregnant because in my mind, I had just had another child. And they asked me, okay, well, we can't treat you because you're pregnant and what we want to give you could affect the baby. So at that point, Nadia, I made a choice. I said, Lord, I have two kids I see come out my womb. These are kids I want to live for. You're going to have to forgive me. And I did an abortion. Because at the end of the day, they couldn't treat me unless I didn't have, it could, not hurt the baby that I was carrying. So after I had the bunch, I ended up having 15 lumbar punctures in my spine. 2 of them where they punctured my spine, where I ended up getting scoliosis in my lower back because they were going in blind. My neurosurgeon canceled me because I had a puncture and he got upset about that and he fired me as a patient. So I had to find another neurosurgeon because his personality about it was, you should still keep the baby because I feel we could make it. And in my mind, the people telling me they can't help me, I got papilledema in one of my eyes, meaning I was going blind. So the ophthalmologist said, there was so much, how they explained it to me after going through all these ordeals for a whole year, went back for MRI because they said I had a tumor. They found out I don't have a tumor. So they call it pseudo-tumor cerebral, false tumor of the brain. My brain was fighting a tumor that was coming. Makes no sense. But in medical, that's what they do. So I ended up having papilledema, which now I can see. I wear glasses, but I can see. Normally they'll put a shunt in you, like give you surgery on your brain, right? Just to regulate that stuff from happening again. But in my mind, I said I didn't want to do surgery because I said, you're telling me that this could have a side effect, then you have to take out the stunt. And I said, you know what, just forget it. I said, if God have his destiny for me, it's going to happen. So going through that was an ordeal for me by itself. And then in 2014, because I'm an entrepreneur by trade, I do hospice, right? So I own 3 hospice companies, 2 in the United States Virgin Islands, the only Black-owned hospice company in the United States Virgin Islands. And I have a hospice company in Georgia. Okay, I also have a 501c3 nonprofit that I started when I was 22 after I was sick. And that's when I continue helping families because I was one of them that was an anomaly and did not know exactly what to do. And I think a lot of families go through the same thing. And if you don't have proper representation, you don't understand medical, you don't have somebody fighting in your court, people will take advantage of you health-wise as well as financial-wise. So started that. In 2014, I was helping the American Cancer Society help cancer patients when it comes to their SSI. Because when you have cancer, you do not have, or even if you're struggling cancer or terminal illness, a lot of time you don't have advocates to tell you, you can't afford to pay your rent. You can't afford to even do your medical treatment. Sometimes if you don't have proper insurance. And we as from the islands, we don't have proper insurance. We go to the hospital and wherever they do to us, they do to us, But at least in America, they have this benefit that helps out the family. So I started working with these patients under my nonprofit, where attorneys who were doing cases for 2 years, 3 years, and couldn't get not $1 for these patients. I was working the same cases and was having their case overturned in 30 to 40 days. Where these people was checks of $30,000, $40,000 from the government. Did not ask those families to pay me a dime, because you could imagine their medical expense. Some of them have kids, right? So one night I was helping this lady who was a big chief of police, struggling with cancer, had 2 kids, did not have a life insurance policy, didn't have nothing to leave for them girls, because she said when she made her money, she spent her money. But no, let's be Nadia. People do that all the time. They make the money and they spend it because in their mind, I only live once. Yeah. So they okay, I have kids that might need help in the future. They're focusing on the now. So long story short, I got a call that same night, because I had already had a MRI done, for my head, but I did a assessment because I was doing my annual checkup from the brain tumor, just to make sure my brain tumor ain't coming back. The lady called me. She said, I was on the phone with a cancer lady helping her with her case. And she called and she said, Nicole, we need you to have another MRI done. I said, of what? She said, we think that you have masses on your liver. I said, what? Now, in the moment of hearing that, Nadia, anybody would drop the phone, tell the lady I won't call you back because I am helping you with your cancer case, and they just come from telling me I might have masses on my liver. But I know what I did. I said, God, if this is your fate, then let me go swinging. I'm going to continue to help this lady with her case. And I go to the doctor like they told me to. So I went to have the MRI. When I have the MRI, they told me I have a fatty liver. It wasn't a mass. But still, that's caution, because I really feel, Nadia, that when you go and, like some of us on here, don't go to a doctor to have regular checkups. But we really need to do that as we get older. Even though it's not a mass on my liver and it was a false diagnosis, I feel like it was a sign for me to say, Nicole, pay attention to your body. You just almost had a tumor. Now they're telling you got mass on your liver. Now you found it's a fatty liver. Pay attention to your body. So I changed my eating habits, did a lot of things. And if that didn't put an icing on the cake, back in 2016, December, my brother, who is my biological brother, we have the same mother, we grew up in the same home. He did have mental illness. He took my mom. He was a mentally ill young man. My mom was his executor, so she kind of managed him. And even though, to me, the brother I knew back then, even though he had his little, ins and outs, I didn't know him to be that person. So when they first told us that my mom had died, I said, they said, oh, and I think your brother did something to her. I said, no, y'all lying. Because, this is the islands. What would I should have took the cops 5 minutes? Because my mom's apartment was literally 5 minutes from the police station. It took them 45 minutes to show up. 45. They said the reason they came late is because my mother and always complaining about my brother. And so they just assumed it was, and they would have came and it would have been another drama. So they did not address my mom's situation in a timely manner because of past experiences. And my mom was already dead.
Wow. I want to ask you, what is the mental illness? Like, what's the name?
He had schizophrenic, bipolar, compulsive disorder where he could just blow. He had about 8 or 9 diagnoses, honey. So you have to pick one. I mean, he had a lot. But we found all the paperwork when my mom passed, and we had to clean out her room and stuff, And I was seeing all the paperwork of all the diagnoses my brother actually had. Yep. He had a lot. And when we were cleaning up my mother's house, I noticed she was hiding the knives, because we find in her back room where she would hide the knives and the forks, anything sharp, So my mom was living in fear, literally. Yeah.
Wow. So you guys weren't really fully aware of all these things of your brother?
We knew he had mental illness, but not to the extent till after passed when we were looking through a paper. You know, when you're island people, you know how it is. Everybody is so secretive.
Yeah.
And that's another thing in our culture we have to really pay attention to. We like to see Tommy acting funny. I'm like, that's just how Tommy is until Tommy snap, right? Um, for whatever reason, my mom maybe felt like she did not want to share totally what was going on with him. You know, didn't want to be him to be judged because she loved her kids. And to be honest with you, I'm not upset with my mom. She did what anybody would do, defend her child. You know, and even to the end when he took her life, I feel like my mom would have, you know, honestly still defend him to the point because that's her child, and I have two boys, Nadia. So I have to look at what would I do for my kids. Not that I want my kids to hurt me now, but it's it's like the bittersweet of this whole situation, you know.
But how does that, where is your brother now, to be honest?
He's in a jail with a mental padded cell in North Carolina.
So has any of the family member that you know about go and look after him or go and see him or visit him?
Well, remember, but my mom had six of us, right? Three older and younger. So the three younger would not look for him because they didn't really they grew up with him, but not as much as me and my other sister who is older than me. So because it was my older sister, my brother, then me, then my younger sister, my two younger sisters and my brother. So we actually, when my mom passed, she was only 58 years old, and we ended up, you know, kind of guiding the last three, which was in their 20s. So they won't have any connection. Only person that actually reaches out to find out about my brother is myself and my older sister.
Wow. So how do you cope with such a traumatic event?
Well, I don't drink because it gives me bad indigestion. But and I don't believe in Xanax. So honestly, I am a medicinal herb user. And and I do and I actually pray a lot. I'm very spiritual, so I have a lot of meditation. But yes, what was founded on King Solomon's grave was an excellent medicine. Besides Xanax. So that's how I cope on, because I refuse to go on high medication. You know what I mean? So, you know, I mean, I saw some. I think we all in therapy. We all went to therapy, but I think it hurts more my younger siblings because they were there when it happened. Like they were on the island. So my sister said she had just left the house, and when she left the house, she turned back. They were arguing already. My brother had started like arguing, like no, 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 you know, like the crazy man talk, and she forgot her son's bag. And when she went back to get the bag, she got it. Then she left again, and he watched her going down the driveway. And then after 9 is when my mom called 911 and was saying my brother was beating her. So she called 911. I heard the calling. She was screaming for her life. Yep. I know, right?
Wow.
Talk about it now. You know? Yep.
This is really. I'm speechless because I don't know how I would move forward after something like that, because that is very traumatic for anybody to go through. But what would be your encouragement to people out there who may have gone through similar experiences like what you have gone through?
Well, I can tell you much. My first encounter that happened, it was ironic because I used to do a lot of empowerment conferences for women. So that my mom died December 22nd, 2016. On January 7th, she was buried of 2022, because in the islands, you know, they take them forever to bury.
Yeah.
Some. Everybody have to call the whole National Guard, right? I did a conference that year in March of 2022, said that was called Healing After a Tragedy, because I wanted to help other women who had similar situations to cope like me. And I found women that was raped and beaten and by their family member. I had one lady who her daughter and her granddaughter was in the head by her mother-in-law, and he was on America's Most Wanted. So these women I had come with the same tragedy. I mean, I was in my tragedy, but I felt like they had worse situation, but I was hearing it and I'm thinking mine is worse, right? And what I tell people is you have to talk about it. If you're not talking about it, it's going to eat you alive, because at the end of the day, tragedy like that don't just go away. And to this day, I still cry as if it happened yesterday. And especially when I look at because I saw the photos of her guts, like just the display of what he did to her. And when I look, and I should have never watched them at the time, because you know when something happened, you don't believe it. So I'm like, no, y'all lying, y'all lying. Then when they show you pictures, you're like, okay, this is real. And the fact that they found my brother had a shower and everything. When they found him, he wasn't in the house when the cops came. The doors were locked. So he took a shower, had on fresh clothes, locked the door with my mom inside, body, and walked down the street like a normal citizen. Okay? And when they found him, they said, did you know what you did to your mother? And he said, what are y'all talking about? So he had no recollection of what he did. So I would say stop making excuses for your loved ones that have slight or any type of issues. Stop it. You need to realize that it could be something more. And the last thing you want to do is have the story that I have. You have to pay attention to signs. Whether it's your child, a younger child, especially nowadays you could diagnose it in kids young. They might say, oh, Tammy always behaving rude in school and throwing tables and slamming stuff. Pay attention to that child as he get older. Stop pacifying hurt people, because you don't know when that child might end up becoming like my brother, and I don't want that fate for you. But I'm just telling you, things are real, and mental illness is true. And we do not attack mental illness in any society the way we're supposed to. We really don't, especially in the African American culture. When you tell somebody you're going to see a psychiatrist, they tell you, oh, you're crazy. No, I need to talk to people to need help. But we don't do that. We think it's weak. It's not weak. It's actually brave, because you actually made the choice to seek help. How many times in your environment, when I was almost raped by a family member when I was 9 years old. I jumped through the window. That's the only thing I remember is him tugging on my little dress when I got through the window. Because my mom, he had visit from England, and he was in the house, and I came home to get some change, to get some special, some candy. And I noticed him in the living room, and then when I walked to go up to get the change to come back, he had already moved. So I said, well, why did he move? So he said, Nicole, come here for a minute. So I come in the room. The man had me held down on the bed, kissing on me, touching me up. And when he walked away to go lock the door, right? My mama did the door. Girl, I see the window, and I just went straight to the window. Didn't care how I landed, Nadia. All I can remember to this day is him tugging on the edge of my little dress, because I was 9. So come on. And then I run and I started crying, and I called my mother. My mother was in the house. My mother was because I told her what happened. Yeah. And he tried to act like it was lying, But many times you're in a culture of us that these things happen with family members, and and they either ship the daughter away or the child away, like the child did something wrong. When you don't face it head on, don't ship the child away. Pull up the idiot, pull up the friggin' file. Do not make the child feel like it's their fault. My mother didn't. She was going to kill that man. But I'm saying so many times we cover up little stuff that's going on in our worlds, whether it be mental illness or sexual assault or sexual attack or sexual misconduct. I don't care how you put it. Even if somebody violated your space, they're violating you. And it is going to be a part of your trauma. So my medicinal use is always necessary.
Yeah, it is true. It is why. I mean, you have been through a lot. Oh my God.
And that's why I'm standing here today, not telling my story for people to have a pity party for me. What I tell people is, you're gonna go through things in life, some that you really don't want to. But you gotta keep fighting, you gotta keep pushing, you gotta stand strong. Sometimes your best success is out of your worst strategies. I stand before you today, like I told you, still owning my businesses, still doing what I got to. Yes, I have a past that has allowed me maybe some distrust, because I can't say I trust everybody because of what I've been through in my life. But at the end of the day, it made me a better person, made me know how I want people to be treated, recognize when I myself might not be in my total sense, you know what I mean? I need to talk to somebody. It just allows me, and it allows me to encourage my children to look for signs to make sure they're okay, you know? So I don't do pity party. I say keep treading them, man. Keep pushing. Keep fighting. I know it's so sad, girl. I know it's really sad, but I had to say it's sad when you can't come back from it and you can't tell people what God did for you. And I'm a fun believer in God. I'm not a fanatic, but I don't care. You have to believe in something. Some people believe in Buddhism, Muslim, whatever it is. You have to find something that keeps you grounded. Otherwise, you will go crazy. You know, I wrote 2 books. I'm writing a 7 series book of all my encounters. The first book I put is published on Amazon. Their self-taught book is Did You Find Your Purpose? And How Did You Find Your Purpose? Those are the 2 books that I have out so far. And it's really telling you elements of my life and what I did to overcome it. So I'm not just giving you the sad story. I'm showing you what I did to cope, because I don't know your stories, people. I don't know what you're going through. But I can tell you this much. You're not the only one. I'm hearing from people like Nika, you thinking, oh, she got businesses, she good. Yeah, but here my past. You know what I mean? I've been through a lot in my, and I'm not even in my, I don't know, I don't want to say how young I look, because, you know, but I am not that old, and I could tell you how much stories, so much other stories. I grew up with my brother, my stepfather sold for a living. I grew up in a house that was his lifestyle, and I thought that was normal. I didn't know that the little Kodak bottles in the black, you know, the ones they used to do back in the day, the Kodak bottles. I mean, the Kodak for film. They used to put your film in. That's what it used to be. Like Nicole had the man this bottle all the time. That was wherever he was selling, and I was that. Hey, Daddy said hold this all the time. Hey, I guess I was an assistant. But I look back on those things and say, okay, Nicole, you didn't know where you're going to. You didn't know where you were going. But you know what? I am happy I had my experiences. Not all, but I'm just saying it makes me a better person. I try to treat people fair. I try not to take things so literally personal. And Nadia, because based on what I've been through, you can't tell me nothing. You can't hurt me. I've been through it all. Health, family, you name it, I did it. So what you could tell me, you know?
Hey guys, what's up beautiful people? It's your girl Nadia Official. Now the interview that you have just watched is with Miss Nicole Richardson, and you can find her on Instagram. Her Instagram handle is MCLC Circle, and she's open for mentorship on how to start a business, how to grow your business, and she do this for free, and she's also a motivational speaker. You can contact her on her work cell number, which is 470-909-7318. I will repeat that number. It's 470-909-7318. And you can contact her if you're interested in motivational speaking, if you're interested in business and you need a mentorship with regards to how to grow your business, how to expand your business, and she do all of this for free. Okay, people, right there. So I mean, the interview is very interested. I'm very intrigued by her. I mean, she has an interesting life, as you can hear. I mean, I cannot even imagine how I would feel if a family member, especially a brother, should really analyze my mother or something like that. You understand? It's so tragic, all of those things and stuff like that. And through it all, she was able to overcome, and she was able to have her businesses and all of these things. So that goes to show no matter how hard of a life you have or how much trauma you go through in life, you can still turn out to be an exceptional human being and successful in life. So no matter what you guys are going through out there, never give up. Always hold your head high and try to aim for the sky. Well, uno don't know this is a girl Nadia official. I'ma always keep things real. I'ma always keep things official. Big up on yourself out there, people. Peace and love to each and every one of uno who take time out on a day to watch a video for me. Big up on yourself, bless up on yourself. Uno don't know respect and manners always, but special respect to those of you guys who are always here and uno have the top fans and top supporters badge beside on a name. Big respect to those who actually subscribe to me because the contribution is always necessary for the platform to grow. A special thank you guys. Respect our manners and as always. And uno don't know say a few no place on free if you comment whatever uno want to comment. No comment has ever been deleted. Big up on yourself out there, people. Uno know says always respect. Uno know says always love. Anybody who want an interview, just DM me. Peace. I'm out. Bye.